Good afternoon, super friends, and welcome to the Friday, February 6th edition of the Sacred News and Weather. We made it to Friday. Um, for some of us, that's a feat, and for others, it's just Friday. Wherever you are in your own personal week, I welcome you here. I'm glad to have you. Today, I've been sitting with this all week long, and it came forward on Wednesday as well in Wednesday's message, but really proximity to power. Proximity to power, external power versus our internal power. So, when I was sitting in meditation these last few mornings for myself, not even for the collective, I was really looking at all of the ways that I myself participate in the external game of positioning and repositioning myself in order to gain power or status or any of those things. And if you know me, and many of you do, and many of you don't, um, I've always been one of those people ever since I was a little girl who I never really had like a clique. I never really had one social group. I was sort of always on the periphery of many, but never fully enmeshed in one. I mean, I've always had a close friend or two, but I really don't have a lot of experience with like big groups of friends or big community things. Like I'm always sort of on the outside of things. And I think that's by design. I think some of us are just by design and are just designed that way where we live on the edges of things. And that's not to say that I haven't been welcomed parts of different groups, but I think my personality is such that I prefer my own company. I prefer my internal interior world. I'm very much an introvert, but I can fake it really well. So some of you might think, oh, she's not an introvert at all, but I really and truly am. And so listening to myself and listening to my own interior wisdom, I asked myself, well, where have I in my life aligned myself with people above me, below me, equal to me in order to feel something about myself? And I'm going to pose that question to you as well, because as the Epstein files unfold and the horrors come forward, as the world becomes more and more acquainted with the way the upper echelons align themselves and the way power and money gets moved around, the way those who are considered subservient to power and money get abused. I think it's really important for us to examine for ourselves where we are aligning ourselves with external powers or associating ourselves with external power when what we're really being invited into is aligning ourselves with our internal power source, our internal divinity, our internal moral compass, energetic compass, really aligning ourselves with spirit, with the divine, with the highest version of ourselves, knowing that this is our true power source. Our true power source is internal. It is nothing external. And what's come forward for me, I'm in the coaching, spiritual mentorship, healer world. And in that world, it's been something of a toxic roller coaster since COVID, really. And there are the upper echelons, and then there are lots of people in the middle of the road, and then there are people who are, I don't want to say lower because they're not lower than, but they're newer and they also don't maybe have the training. And then there are some people who are, worthy of being in the highest echelons for all of their knowledge and the depth and breadth of their knowledge and what they are doing, but they are sort of at the bottom because of that proximity piece and who they have chosen to align themselves with or not align themselves with. And so I've just been sitting with that in my own way and asking myself who I desire to be aligned to and why, and what would aligning myself with that person or that group of people bring me that I'm not able to generate from inside of myself? And so I invite you into those questions for yourself as well, no matter what your line of work is, no matter what your role is in your family or in your community. And it may be even, a family question like who am I aligning myself with in my own family in order to stay above or in order to stay below? Because some of us align ourselves beneath where we actually belong out of fear, out of cultural upbringing. So just inviting you to ask these questions for yourself about where externally, what external power sources are you aligning yourself to? And what might change if you truly align yourself with spirit, with the divine, with your own innate power? What might be possible for you there? I didn't give my preamble again today. I'll give it to you now just quickly. As with everything I do, take what resonates, leave the rest behind. These messages are timeless. So whether you're tuning in now or later, know that there's likely something here for you. But if there isn't, feel free to turn me off. There's other messages below. There will be more to come. I did have some images from the tarot appear today uh, for our collective. When I was asking to be shown what to bring to the collective today, I was actually shown myself in meditation this morning, and it brought me into, oh, the very same questions I'm asking myself, I'm meant to bring to you. So I am. But what came forward from the tarot, the first card, there were two cards, and again, I didn't draw these cards. They were just images that came forward. The first was the high priestess, that intuitive knowingness, particularly the version of the high priestess that is associated with Bina on the Judaic tree of life. Bina is Sophia wisdom. She is divine feminine wisdom. She is grandmother spider who knows the patterns. She is well acquainted. She's like the well and wise feminine who can see all of the patterns and aid us in making decisions by noticing what the patterns are and noticing what will break a toxic pattern or noticing what will actually really fall into alignment with the sacred geometry of a pattern. So in that way, the high priestess came forward to really invite us to tune into that internal knowingness, to that internal Sophia wisdom, to that pattern seer, to notice where you have and hold those patterns of, oh yeah, I align myself with, Uncle Bob. Poor Uncle Bob. I feel like I bring him up a lot, and I don't even have a living Uncle Bob. I did have an Uncle Bob, but he's deceased, and we were not close. Where am I aligning myself with Uncle Bob in order to have relevance or stature in the family, but I'm actually diminishing my own power? Or where am I stepping into my own power and not having any fucks to give about whatever is going on outside of me? Now I'm being told to caution you a little bit about, ooh, my voice just squeaked. All of my asthma medication this week has taken a toll on my throat. So I apologize. I'm being told to caution you about the shadow side of grandmother spider, the shadow side of Bina, in that she can be curmudgeonly. She can like see the pattern and be like, oh, I know how that's going to turn out. And so she's going to say no to something that she might want to say yes to just because she thinks she knows better. So I'm being told to bring that shadow side of Bina forward to remind you to, if you're feeling curmudgeonly, especially given the current climate, to step out of your curmudgeonliness and really allow the pattern to open up and look for the healthful pattern, look for the healthful way that you can align yourself with your own power. Excuse me, I'm going to clear my throat. I'm sorry about that. Again, my asthma has been flaring, so all of the inhaled steroids and nebulizer treatments, my throat is just having a moment. The next image that came through from the tarot is really in alignment with the high priestess in that it was the hermit. And the hermit, I wish I had water here. I do not. I'm going to clear my throat one more time. Excuse me. The hermit is one of my favorite cards in the tarot because when I see her or him, depending upon which deck I'm using, the image that came was the Light Seers deck, and the hermit is very much a her in the Light Seers deck. To me, she is the ultimate card of healing, of inner wisdom and healing. And when the way the hermit wants to be used today is really, as I said, turning inward, looking at the patterns, and then turning inward to see what is truly in alignment for you, shining a light in all of those shadowy places and looking for what is truly feeling aligned for you. And it does not mean, and I want to be clear that I'm not saying aligning yourself with people or persons outside of yourself is always going to be a bad thing. It's not. We we especially in the Western world where we're taught to really like do away with or cut off the collective. We're taught to individuate and be individuals. And I think that's very much to a fault. I think that we are actually in the Western world being invited into a more collective energy, a more unified collective energy. So I'm not saying that aligning yourself with external power is bad or wrong. I'm saying really know who it is and why it is that you are aligning yourself. Are you giving your own power away in order to align yourself with someone who feels more powerful outside of yourself? Which brings me back to Wednesday's message, where I was talking about how some men who we might even consider to be good men, who might have never thought in a million years of ever aligning themselves with someone as horrific as Jeffrey Epstein, how that could happen. And this is what I'm inviting you to look at for yourself. How is it? Like, how could you possibly be aligning with yourself with someone whose values you don't actually share? Just to feel that like what feels like an upward or an elevation that you're not feeling inside of yourself. And so there may be people that you can put yourself into the proximity of that will buoy you up, that will raise you up. And that's the collective. That is the unified collective that we are looking for. The collective of people in Minnesota right now who are standing together to protect others from the horrors of ICE, the way people are gathering to really come together and push away all that is wrong in the world right now. Please, by all means, align yourself with those people. What is coming to mind for me, and I'll just share it, and it may be TMI, but there in the coaching world, there are people who will basically say, like, pay me to be in my proximity because my energy is what you need to bring yourself up to this next level. That's not always true. Just because these people are at this next level does not mean that being near them is going to bring you up, especially if you feel collapsed when you are among those people. You are just going to sink further and further down. And so those are the kinds of relationships that I'm encouraging you to take a second look at. The relationships where you think you are approximating yourself to power, but what you're actually doing is collapsing yourself by placing value outside of yourself. So that's where I feel the hermit is coming in. She's inviting you to really look at and shine a light at where and who you're aligning yourself to make sure that you are aligning yourself in your full power to create something more powerful and more healthy and more of love, rather than aligning yourself with something outside of yourself because you feel bad and you think that by aligning yourself, you're going to feel better. That may be true. I'm not saying that that doesn't happen either. Sometimes being in the vibration of someone who's vibrating really high and feels really good and who also has that generous spirit, sometimes that will be the thing that brings you up. So there is no bad and wrong. I'm just inviting you to look. And then the final image that came forward was the Three of Pentacles, which gave me a giggle because to me, in my world, that is the card of collaboration, of like healthy, okay, let's all get to work. And there the image again is from the light seers, and I'm a knitter, and so there's balls of yarn or thread, and everybody's starting to work together in order to create something new and more powerful than what they could have created on their own. So again, collaboration can be beautiful. Collaboration is not bad or wrong, but really inviting you into looking internally at where you are placing your value, who you are aligning with, where you are seeking power, and always, always, always encouraging you to bring your attention back into yourself, to connect with spirit, to connect with Mama Earth, to make that unification happen with yourself, and then to move forward from that place. And I think that's what I have. So happy Friday. I will see you all on Monday. Thank you for joining me. Please like and share and subscribe. I've got a bunch of new subscribers. I'm delighted to have you here. I hope to see you soon. Bye bye.